In Macau, found a hotel on the beach. The first room they showed him had no windows, but from the second on the 6th floor, you could just see the sea. He paid in cash from the envelope Elaine had given him, but he went straight back out again. It was already dark by the time the cab dropped him off in the center of town. He set off on foot with a mind to buy some clean clothes, Bossini or Giordano's. But his feet took him elsewhere, away from shopping, down cobbled streets that wound, narrowed, pulled old churches from their sleeves until he was properly lost. Turning down a street of electronics shops, he was startled by the mournful blare that echoed from each. Bagpipes. There was a barber shop. He went in, sat down, had a shave. He'd walked far enough. What he needed now was drink. There was a bar on the corner, dimly lit, full of loud music, full of people, Europeans, Chinese, holding glasses and smiling. He went in, sat down, had whiskey, and everything was nicely dislocated. Shining faces, blank eyes. He was getting towards the place where he wanted to be, both here and not here. The evening stretched on, and he found himself in bars and nightclubs, never stopping for more than 1 or 2 drinks. Sometimes he followed a crowd of people to the next place, feeling almost one of them. Sometimes he made his way alone. Everywhere he went, there was televisions, beaming pictures live from Hong Kong. But the music was loud and the screens are high up on the walls. But if, every now and then, he did look up, the images were strange and far away. Rain, speeches, flags, umbrellas, soldiers goose-stepping across the stage, and still more rain. The lovely daughters sobbing. Prince. And the nice big boat. He grew more intent on his drinks. This afternoon, with Elaine in his flat, that was receding now too. Whiskeys and sodas, Chinese cigarettes with a red bamboo design and black panda. Back in his hotel room, he forced the window open, looked out. An orange moon, like half a grapefruit, floated up over the sea. He lay down in the bed, but he couldn't sleep. His body was exhausted, but his mind was wired enough for both. Back pocket. Pulled out a passport, not his, but the other. He opened it to the back page, and he lay, staring at Elaine. Jane. A knock at the door, and an old Chinese man poked his head around the corner, smiling, not meeting Rob's eye. "You like girl?" He bought one for an hour. Dragged off his shoes and reached for his cigarettes, but she was already there, slipping in at the door, and out of her clothes and into the shower, sitting herself down at the end of the bed. Naked and wet. She was very young. not at all pretty. Chewing gum and drugged like a cow. Rob leaned up against the wardrobe, looked at her slanting eyes, tobacco-colored hair. It all went very quickly after that. First, he stepped across and slapped her. Once, twice. She cowered and made no sound as he caught a hold of her shoulders. He gave her a sharp push so she fell across the bed. Again, her unfocused eyes didn't register. With an effort, she turned her head up to look back at him, try to guess what he wanted, but he was already on top. Hands pinning her arms, pressing her body to the bed, pressing his lips to her body. And she fought him. She sighed and gave little tuts and waves of her hand as she twisted and turned her head on the pillow. "No kiss!" she cried. "No kiss!" But he saw irony, too, in her eyes. She was challenging him to go further and further, to let himself go, to take it all the way, and he penetrated her, still teasing, caressing a breast, licking a neck. Finally, feeling the approach of climax, he forced his palms beneath her, forced her to rise as he descended, acting out both parts at the same time. From the corner of his eyes, he caught sight of her face, and it was her wriggling beneath him. And he came with his hands locked around her neck, crying out, "Jane!" Above her strangled screams, the door burst open, and the Chinese man was there with a bat. Rob leapt up and stood in the doorway of the bathroom, arm raised defensively. Trembling, he imagined the bat falling and the arm breaking. But the old Chinese man spat something harsh at the girl, who started to dress on the bed, trembling, falling. She stumbled into her clothes. On her neck were stripes, blue and red. At last, she did up her skirt and stumbled out the door. The old Chinese man spat on the bed, stared hard at Rob, bat still hovering. He spat again and left. Rob slid down the door to the floor. The Panda cigarettes were right there beside him. He smoked one, then another. They were strong and nasty, and he felt a weight in his head like sand sinking through water. 2 steps short of the basin, he vomited across the bathroom floor. He hauled himself up onto the toilet. He sat there slumped and wretched, but the soiled white tiles throbbed like lungs, and he was forced to stand. And as he did so, he met his haunted face in the mirror. And he remembered it all.